Alright guys, so 2006 Camry, the water pump's leaking. It's hard to see. It's dripping down there. And this car, as I was checking this car earlier, the car did not have heat. Every time you rev the engine, the pump pushes the antifreeze. That's when we had heat. As soon as you stop at red light, the heat starts coming. So as you can see, this reservoir is empty. And also, I'm gonna open this cap up. Let me open this cap up. It's radiator cap. There's no antifreeze in here. It's supposed to be antifreeze in there. And if you squeeze it, it's supposed to shoot out, all right? Because I'm squeezing this pipe, all right? So nothing is coming out. What we're gonna do is the antifreeze that we have in there, we're gonna drain it, all right? So the drainer is all the way down there. This is the drainer here. You can reach from up here, and we'll put the bucket down there. Push the bucket down there. We're gonna push that bucket down there, and we're gonna loosen that drainer up right there. And we're gonna let the. All right, guys. 2006 Toyota Camry. This is a 4-cylinder. This is a little bit of oil and coolant mixture here. This car has a leaking water pump. The reservoir is empty. And the heat doesn't work properly. So when the car is at the red light, even though the temperature of the coolant is nice and hot, the gauge is halfway. As soon as the car stops, there's no antifreeze being pumped by that pump because it's low, and the heat stops blowing hot. All right, it cools off a little bit. And so what we're gonna do here is gonna change the water pump, and we'll flush the antifreeze with it. All right, so we're gonna loosen that drain, and we're gonna let the antifreeze fall into the bucket we put on the floor. We're gonna leave it like that. We're gonna keep an eye on it. The antifreeze should be coming down just like that. So we're gonna catch all the antifreeze just like that. Let's give it a good 10-15 minutes till it drains out. And then we'll come back and we'll remove the belt, and we'll change the water pump. Alright guys, as you can see, the bucket is not there no more. And what we did was we closed that drainer out down there. You can also drain the antifreeze from this little thing right here. Alright, that's a number 12. You can drain the antifreeze from there. And I'm sorry, that's for the oil. There should be one for in the back where you can drain the antifreeze. Something similar to that. Ignore that, alright? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move our bucket to this side of the engine, because we're gonna remove that water pump, and all the antifreeze or whatever's in there is gonna come down also. So we're gonna start up by removing the number 14s here. We're gonna take out both of these, and this bracket will go out of the way. Make sure you keep all the bolts together, because they're going to be different sizes. Alright, so make sure you keep these bolts together, and you know where they go, because you don't want to put a long one into a small place and it might damage the block. Next, we're going to remove the 2 bolts that's holding this the mount down. And this mount has a one over there, one more bolt. Alright, same thing. Keep the bolts in same spot where they belong. Make sure you have it in order. And this mount comes right out. Next, what we're gonna do is you're gonna need a extension and a number 14. We're gonna remove the 3 bolts that are in there. If you can see better, 1, 2, 3. And this whole frame right here is gonna come apart. Alright, so you got one more left. There you go. And what we're gonna do is we're not gonna take out this ground cable. We're just gonna move this and place it here, right? Just like that. What we'll do next is we'll remove that little debris there. You don't want that there. We're gonna take number 12, and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do next. Let me just align my light. We're gonna loosen up these 4 bolts, I'm sorry, with the belt on. What that's gonna do is it's gonna help us remove those bolts. The belt is gonna hold there, right? You gotta yank it. Alright, you could do the belt will help you a little bit. You can also use a pry bar to assist you. Put it between the center of that pump. And these bolts are sometimes very tight. Alright, so we got one bolt loose, but we're gonna show you what we're gonna do. You're gonna use this pry bar just to hold between the center of that pump and the bolt, alright? So if we got one loose, we're gonna move on to the next one. We're not gonna remove that bolt because we're gonna need them all to do one by one. Alright, so this is the next bolt. There you go, that's loose. We're gonna move on to the next bolt. And we put this back together. We're gonna do it the same way, but it's gonna be a reverse the procedure. Just be careful you don't hit your hand on the other end. Alright, one last one left. And then we have all the 4 bolts loose, and we can remove the belt. There you go. Alright, we have the bolts loose. Now we'll remove the belt. To remove the belt, you're gonna need number 19. You're gonna put it right here, right where this number 19 goes from the tensioner here. You're probably gonna need a deeper socket. You could go in there and grab it. Alright, so we got number 19 on that. We're gonna pull this and we're gonna remove that belt. Alright, so you're gonna put the number 19 again. Let's try it again. And you're going to remove the belt. Make sure you have a good spot to remove the belt from. Alright, we're going to try one more time. We got a different size ratchet. Alright. Remove the belt. Release the tensioner. Take out the tool. We're going to remove the whole belt. We're gonna put a new belt on too as we're doing the water pump. If you don't have a diagram or don't know how the belt goes, before you take it off, just make a good diagram of it. You could sketch it on a piece of paper. Alright, now what we can do is we're gonna remove the number 12 of that water pump pulley, and we're gonna pull out that pulley. They should be loose, should be able to do it by hand. If you drop it, it's okay, you can get it off the floor, but make sure you put the same bolts in. You don't want longer bolts, it might damage the pump. And you don't want to lose the bolts because they're going to be hard to find the same bolts. So 3, here you got 2 in his hand. How many you got in the hand? 1 and 2 fell, I think. We'll pick those off of the floor. Right, there we go, we got 2, let's see. You see? So these are the bolts, this is what they look like. Now the pulley should be loose. The reverse might be holding a little bit. You can yank it with a pry bar. Spray some WD-40 right in the center. Push it with the pry bar. We're gonna push that with the pry bar. You see the center of the pump? It's not letting it go because there's corrosion right at that spot. There you go. It look like it's out. Sometimes that pulley won't come out. You gotta lift up the engine a little bit. You can release the rest of the mounts. But let's see if this comes out. Alright, this pulley does not want to come out, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna jack up the engine a little bit. Or we'll just pry the engine a little bit that way. Alright guys, that pulley doesn't want to come out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to pry the engine a little bit. See if I can give them a little bit, a couple of millimeters of space. If it still doesn't work out, we're gonna jack up the engine. We're gonna release the mounts on this engine. Okay, it does not come out. Alright, we're gonna leave it and we're gonna pry up the engine. Alright guys, we're gonna give it another shot. I'm gonna give it a little bit extra force. Alright, there you go. So all I needed was extra force with this pry bar here, and that pulley came out. Alright guys, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna disconnect this. You don't have to if you don't want to, but we'll remove this bolt so this is out of the way a little bit. And then the pump has a whole bunch of bolts. We're gonna take them all out and keep them in order, right? And that's about it. And then the pump should come out. And make sure you have a bucket on the floor to catch the antifreeze if the pump still has some antifreeze in there. Alright, so we're gonna remove that number 10. Make sure you save it somewhere and make sure you know this same bolt goes here. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna give you a little clearance. You know, it's like right in front of your face. This little connector, and make sure you do not disconnect this. You can disconnect it, but make sure you put it back because this is coming straight from the crank sensor. Alright, next what we'll do is we're not gonna take out this bolt and this bolt yet. What we'll do is we'll take out all the bolts because they're all harder. We'll leave this one alone and leave this one alone. We'll take that out last. If you need, you could use a deep socket. I have a deep socket there. Alright, so we're gonna remove all the bolts. We're gonna come right back because you cannot see it anyway. Let's see if we can manage to show you at least what he's doing at the point. So what he's doing is he's loosening all the bolts. Make sure the bucket's on the floor. You know, if the bucket's not on the floor, you're gonna have a big mess down there. There's probably got like another gallon of antifreeze in there in the block. Probably a little bit less, but still has a lot. One more all the way down there, but you're gonna need a deep socket. You had him. So for the one in the bottom, you're gonna need a small extension, like 1.5 inches, and a short socket. There you go, it's on. And at this point, antifreeze might start dripping on a little. But let's get all the bolts out. We'll leave the top 2 bolts in. Alright, we got 2 bolts out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 left. Alright, this is another one. The reason why I say don't take out the top 2, because those are the easy ones, and then you could control the pump and the antifreeze. Because if you take out the easy ones first, then you're gonna have difficulty taking out the last ones, the hard ones last. Try by hand. Don't feel hard. We got one here left and one right up here. Alright, again, keep the bolts in order. And then we got one last one left, and after this, as soon as this is loose, antifreeze might just start dripping. Sometime over time, that pump is like locked into the block. You're probably gonna hit it with the hammer a little bit, soft hammer. Once the pump is out, we're going to clean the surface very good before we install the new pump. Alright, we got all the bolts out. You can see 2 little studs in there. Those are the studs, they stay in there because they're going to guide you. Get the pump in there. Slowly we're going to get this pump out. And we're going to let the antifreeze fall down. Alright, I'm going to look in the floor if the antifreeze is going in the bucket. It's going straight into the bucket. Go ahead, release it. That's it. Alright. Let's look at this pump. Alright, now we can pull out this pump. Just be careful with the crank position sensor cable. Just move that out of the way a little bit. And you can bring out this pump slowly, alright? Sometimes it don't give you enough room to come out, so you might have to remove the engine mounts and jack up the engine a little bit. Let's see what kind of space we have. Alright, I'm going to yank this engine a little bit so you can get the pump out. All you need is a couple of millimeters. And the pump comes right up, right? There's the pump. Alright, so we're going to clean that surface down there. And then we'll install the pump, and I'll show you once the surface. Alright guys, so we have this all cleaned up here. Where the pump is going to sit. We cleaned it. It's hard to get down there. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the pump over. We're going to put the pump in there. I'll yank the engine a little bit to the side. and he'll be able to manage to get that pump in there. Here's the older pump, and comes with the seal. The new pump, I'm sorry, comes with the seal, the same seal the way it is, and we'll set that pump. All right guys, this is the brand we're using. This is the original pump in there, and this pump does not come with the seal here. I mentioned earlier it comes with the seal, but this one does not come with the seal. So what we have to use is we have to use a sealer, and we're gonna use this Honda Bond. This is what I'm using here because Honda Bond always works best for me. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna put this all over. You don't have to put a lot, just a layer of it. And when you put this pump in, make sure you don't drag it and it doesn't come off, because if it comes off, then it'll leak from that spot. So we're gonna get this all around, and we'll show you once it's completed how we have this. Alright, so I'm gonna just show you guys while we're working on it, so you have an idea what to do if you're doing this at home by yourself, or if you want to know what you have to do if you have a bad pump on a Camry. There you go, we have this spread all over. Just use your finger to just line it a little bit, and that's it. Now we can take this pump and put it in the car. Alright, so we're gonna take this pump carefully, we're gonna slide it in there.
Junk it. Junk it. Listen.
Alright guys, we got the pump in there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just push the pump in with the two little bolts that are sticking out. Those are the alignment bolts, the little studs. You gotta come up a little bit. Come up, Candy.
What's it come on?
The stud. You see the two little bolt studs sticking out? It didn't go in.
It's in.
It's not in this one.
It's in.
It's not in this one. I'm looking at it.
Oh.
There you go. Once you have those two, you can just push the pump in and make sure you put the little. Make sure you put the sensor, the cable for the sensor where it belongs, right? We'll take one bolt at a time. We'll put it where it belongs. First, you can put it on the two little studs. The two nuts. And to put this one in, we're gonna line the cable for the crank sensor, the cable. We're gonna bring it back to the spot. Make sure you put this connector back together. You don't want to forget that. And we'll put the rest of the bolts in, and then we'll tighten it. And when you tighten this, make sure you use a sequence. You center the two center bolts, and then work your way out like you would do a wall cover gasket. Alright, so he's gonna finish up the job, and we'll come back, and then we'll show you once it's completed, and we'll put the mount and the belt together. Alright guys, I'm gonna tighten these. Make sure you tighten it in a sequence order, meaning this one and this one first. It's gonna be hard to see, but I'll try my best so you guys can see. I'm gonna tighten this a little bit, and then I'm gonna come on this end. Let me get a different socket. I'll do this one next. What this is gonna do is it's gonna center the pump. It's gonna squeeze the pump right from the center first. Alright, there you go. I have that. Then I'll go to the one on the bottom. That's nice and tight. Then I'll come on to the top. Alright, at this point we have it all centered out. So what I'll do is I'll tighten the other two bolts that are left. And after that you can just go around, double check them all. Alright, I have that one. I'm going to switch my sockets for the very bottom one. This is the hardest one because you can't see very well. There you go, I have that one. So pretty much it's done, alright? I'll just go around, double check one last time. So this is tight. This is tight. This is tight. This is very nice and tight. Alright, got that one. I'll switch my sockets again. For the one at the bottom. Alright, that's it. They're all nice and tight, alright? Should I double check? Alright guys, the pump is nice and tight. We're gonna put this bolt here. And after this, we'll put the pulley for the pump with the number 12s, the 4 number 12s that go on the pump. Alright, here we go. We have that nice and tight. We'll take the pulley next and we'll put the pulley on. Alright guys. We're ready to put the pump in, the pulley in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to yank it with the pry bar here. So it gives them like a 1/4 of an inch, a couple of millimeters for that pulley to go in. There you go, we have the pulley in. You don't need to yank it no more. So what we'll do next is we'll put the 3-4 bolts in there. Alright, so yeah, now you need to find the holes in the pump and the pulley and align them, and you're gonna put all 4 bolts in and then we'll tighten it. Alright, so we have 1 bolt in there and we're gonna get the rest of them. Alright, so we cannot see, so there's no point of us recording at this point. Once we have them all in, I'll show you guys and then we'll tighten it. See, there we have number 2. Alright, I'll just continue recording like this. Once you get 2 bolts in or 1 bolt in, after that the rest of the bolts will just line themselves. And to tighten, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to use the pry bar to stop the pulley from moving, and you're just going to hand tighten the 4 bolts. We have all 4 bolts on there. They just need to be tightened down. Same thing, alright? So the procedure is reverse. You just hold the pulley from coming towards you now. That's 1, nice and tight. We'll get one, we'll skip one, so that way we get the pulley to go in flush. Just like you would tighten a tire, cross tighten them. Alright, there you go. We got them all, 3 of them tight, 4 of them tight, and you could double check once the belt is on. Alright, we'll put on the belt next. Alright guys, we have the belt routed. If you need a routing, you can message me. I'll give you a diagram or send you something in email, or you could Google it. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna yank the tensioner now and put the belt on the alternator here. So number 19 goes there. Onto the tensioner. It's a hydraulic tensioner. What I like about this tensioner is going to be very hard, and it doesn't give you enough room. Sometimes you have to put it on a different pulley. Alright guys, we have the belt on. We had to put the old belt on because the new one was wrong. We'll do a belt on another day. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this bracket. We're gonna put this in with the 3 bolts. Make sure you put the bolts in by hand first, and use a socket with extension, and then we're gonna tighten it. They're all 3 bolts are the same size. And after this, we'll put the dog bone mount, and then you're just left with antifreeze. Alright, so after this, we're just left with the antifreeze, which we're not gonna put. Alright, we're gonna put this dog bone mount. They got 3 bolts, and then the bracket in the front that goes in the front of this. And like I was saying, the last thing that will be left is putting antifreeze in this car, but I would wait a couple of hours till that sealer gets dried up, and then it will hold it nice and good. Alright, this job is pretty much done, and we're gonna just tighten up these bolts and put the bracket in, and after that you guys can just wait a few hours. So wait a few hours and then put the antifreeze in. Alright, so this little bracket, don't forget, sometimes this is tricky to get this in. Flip it. That's it. You're gonna tighten this and you're done. And just wait a few hours and then put the antifreeze in. Let the system bleed. Make sure you have heat coming out nice and hot. So we're done with this job, alright? Thank you for watching.